Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Welcome back to Understanding Culture, Society, and Politics. In this lesson, we will be talking about social inequality. If you found this video informative, please click the subscribe button, like, comment and share to your friends. Thank you. The main objective in this lesson is for the learner to explain government programs and initiatives in addressing social inequalities in the local, national, and global setting. This module will be divided into 3 sections. Part 1 will discuss what is social inequality, how it came to be and some of the common effects of social inequality. Part 2 will talk about the different types of inequality and some important concepts to understand such as stereotyping, ethnocentrism and scapegoating. The last part will talk about the social inequality in the Philippine landscape and some of the government programs and initiatives that addresses social inequality. What is social inequality? From Module 5 in the first quarter, we have talked about becoming a member of the society. This is inevitable as we are living in this world and we have innate need to communicate and interact with the people around us. Social inequality happens within a society and this is natural. Social inequality is a condition when members of a society have unequal access to benefits or treatments befitted to a member of that society. For example, it is a social norm to politely greet an individual in a public space such as a grocery store. However, there are some instances when the poor or some people belonging from an indigenous group do not get this basic treatment from workers in a grocery store. That is a simplistic example of a social inequality. There are 2 modes of social inequality. The first one is direct social inequality. This is a purposeful act of unfair treatment to a specific group or groups. There are different reasons why direct social inequality happens. For example, ex-convicts who got out of jail usually are avoided in terms of getting employment. Although, one might argue that society should give them a chance to change. However, this purposeful act of social inequality is also to protect the common good of the society in general. Direct social inequality can be imposed by the government by giving out mandates. For example, during pandemic, the government imposed quarantine to specific areas or people. The community itself can also impose a direct social inequality. For example, at the height of pandemic, stores developed a policy to not serve clients that are not wearing face masks. Indirect social inequality is not purposeful nor explicit, but the effect is still social inequality. For example, there are some prohibitions on buying products made of exotic or endangered animals' fur. This helps the cause of helping the animals. However, it does affect the livelihood of those people who simply works in those factories as they do not have other options for a job. A little bit of historical background of how social inequality came to be. We first have to understand that social inequality is something that happens for various reasons. There is not one single point when one can say that this is where social inequality started, but it is something that is there and was later described. During ancient Greece, there are rituals that they performed for their deities. But there are special rituals that only the privileged people can perform. Also, Mycenaean elites have special vessels for hand washing while the commoner wash their hands in simple bowls. From the Byzantine era, Renaissance period, to Age of Enlightenment in the European time periods, social inequality is experienced in different parts of the world. One of the most prominent social inequalities is the access to education. Only the members of elite families usually get proper education. Slaves and commoners are not expected to learn how to read and write. There was also a lot of restriction to what women can do and where they can go. They are also not expected to get higher education, either the fundamentals. Women are not allowed to vote nor join in conversations of politics. They can, technically, but their views are often disregarded, or sometimes ridiculed. Women also cannot simply get employment or careers that they want. During the 19th and 20th century, Social inequality on education and women's rights has alleviated due to different social science disciplines and theories that became prominent all over Europe, America and other parts of the world. This period of time, however, face huge impacts on poverty and economic inequality. In the first industrial revolution, a few decades before 19th century, it has already become evident that the workers can only earn so much and they cannot intermingle with the elites nor the aristocrats. Economic difference peaked during the first 3 decades of 20th century during Depression. It then emerged immensely once more during World War II. There are a lot of effects coming from this. Slavery is also a norm during these time periods. It was a norm that a prominent person of high status owns a slave or slaves in his household. Racial discrimination and prejudice against people of color were also widespread. Racial segregation was employed in USA from 1880s to 1960s. It is a system of segregating facilities and services for white people and people of color. This system was outlawed by the Civil Rights Act of 1964. There are many effects stemming from social inequality. The following are some of the common effects of social inequality. First, education. It was only in the formation of the United Nations that the notion of education being a basic human right was fully established. Due to different social inequality, this has caused differential school access and learning. Due to different political empowerment and programs in different places, the quality of education given by public schools was also different to the education given by prestigious schools which require bigger tuitions from the students. However, slowly and gradually, the education systems are now enhanced and improved to be inclusive. Inclusive of all types of students, regardless of their social status, parents' income, race or ethnic group, special needs and even age. Meaning older people who weren't able to get their formal education before can now get back to school and learn. Poverty. Essentially, even in ancient times, those in political power or those born in elite families are the ones who have more wealth. The commoners are subdued and are employed to work in order for them to make a living. Due to social inequalities' impact on education, the rich become richer, and the poor become poorer due to lack of awareness and opportunities. This is also true in the aspect of unemployment. The poor, having substandard education or no education at all, cannot land an employment that could help them improve their lives. Aside from that, the poor has restricted vertical mobility in social status and only very few gets a chance to change their way of life. Health. Like a domino effect, due to lack of education and enough earnings, the lower the socio-economic standing of an individual, the higher the risk of poor health. An individual being in the lower social status may not have access to clean water, clean food, or standardized health facilities whenever they need it. In most cases, the poor will not even go to the hospital if their illness is not grievous or fatal. Health facilities and health insurances may not be affordable for most people, especially the population that are experiencing poverty. Some illnesses are not even diagnosed, and since the poor usually don't have enough funds, this causes death more often than not. Crime. In a population or area where most people are in poverty, it is also correlated to high crime rates. The need to get money somewhere in order to live, bring food to the table, buy necessary things such as clothing, payment for the house or rent, and other things that are important in our lives, cause some people to steal or any other criminal activity. Most of the crimes associated with poverty are motor or automobile theft, robbery and burglary, which in worst cases lead to homicide. Thank you for watching. Part 2 will talk about the different types of social inequality. See you there.